Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders recently posted something on his Instagram, and it has Raiders fans going crazy on Twitter, talking about how they're so excited for this guy to basically be our quarterback going into next season. Check out this video he posted on Instagram. There you guys have it, right? It's just essentially Sanders driving across the Allegiant Stadium, right? And basically putting it on his story and captioning it saying legendary. You know, I'm not 100% the type of person that thinks that it has to be Shedeur Sanders. You know, I know a lot of people like Shedeur Sanders, and it's like, it's either him or no one. And I'm not even 100% with Cam Ward. You know, if the Raiders get a quarterback, that's great. But I was thinking about this recently of how great the Raiders can actually be with the, you know, with the top 5 to 10 quarterback, right? Based off the current, you know, the current roster that we kind of have. You know, over the last 3 weeks, our offense has been very, very, very good. And a part of that is just because we have the best tight end in the NFL in Brock Bowers. Yes, Brock Bowers is the best tight end in the NFL. And then more than that, we have one of the top 2 or 3 centers in Jackson Powers-Johnson. This guy is straight up clearing people out of the way. And we're having more success in both the run game and the pass game. In fact, our pass protection last week was absolutely incredible. Right? It was so damn impressive last week. And you know, just thinking about what we've been able to do over the last 3 weeks and just, you know, statistically how much better the offense looks. And then thinking about what we'll do over the next 5 weeks, right? Like, I want to find out, is Sincere McCormick the Raiders' future running back? Or is this guy at least good enough to stay on the roster? What about guys like Dylan Labe? All right, we're going to find out a lot as we kind of end this season. But we can still go out and potentially get a quarterback. And then it just kind of makes you think, how great can the Raiders actually be if we had a legit top 10 quarterback? Right, I would make the argument our roster can compete with a lot of rosters out there, right? We took the Kansas City Chiefs twice to basically the end of the game. We have went up against other teams like the Baltimore Ravens, in which we beat. You know, and that too, that was with Luke Getsy as our offensive coordinator, and an offensive coordinator makes a massive difference. To take that a step further, you look at the defense. The defense has been really, really good, even now with like 7 starters out. The defense is still having a lot of success. So it makes you think, you know, if Cam Ward's running the offense and we're putting up 25, 30 points, or if it's Shedeur Sanders, right, who I'd be very, very excited if the Raiders were able to bring in. If it was one of these guys running this offense and we put up 27 points in a given game, I have faith that this defense can shut down teams and potentially even force turnovers. Or, you know, the Raiders, if we're playing from ahead as opposed to behind, you know, our defense can get after it a little bit. Of course, we'd have to be fully healthy. Koonce would have to be back. Christian Wilkins. But I think this defense has the potential to be a really, really, really good defense. And I go back to the first, like, 2 to 3 weeks of the season when the defense was actually healthy. You know, our defense was legit in those first couple of weeks. I remember against the Chargers, had the offense not given the game away, our defense basically held it down for the Raiders. And again, it makes you think, if the Raiders actually had Shedeur Sanders, who's obviously been hinting to the, you know, I want to be with the Las Vegas Raiders, I would like to see what the Raiders can ultimately be. And truth be told, we're going to probably find that out pretty soon here, right? So I'm excited to see what the Raiders can kind of do as we kind of go forward. And let's just preview this game coming up, you know. Do the Raiders need to go 5-0 in the final 5 games? Obviously not, right? We don't benefit from the Raiders going 5-0. But the biggest benefit the Raiders will have is to be able to analyze some of the guys we have on the defensive side, some of the guys we have on the offensive side. The biggest benefit we have is to see how Jackson Powers-Johnson does against koonce, who's coming into town. Or I guess the Raiders are going to be in Tampa. But the biggest benefit we get is to figure out, can Jordan Meredith block koonce? Can Jackson Powers-Johnson block Vita Vea? Right? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are coming to town, vice versa. We're going there. Can the Raiders show success against this unit? You know, I think the Buccaneers have a really good front seven. I think for the Raiders, there's a lot we're going to find out with their offensive line this week. Take it a step further. Can Aiden O'Connell show us what he showed this past week? You know, one of the things that, as I watched tape, that I realized the Chiefs did a lot to the Raiders was they blitzed us a lot. And when they blitzed us, Aiden O'Connell hit it over the top. Now, here's the thing, right? With Aiden O'Connell, he's going to have more success against the blitz because of the fact that he's a good processor. He thinks quickly and he gets the ball out, right? That's going to allow him to have success if you blitz him, as opposed to if you drop back, you know, let's say 7-8 guys in the coverage, you bring 3 or 4 guys. It's a little bit different, right? Because if if you put enough guys in coverage, if the underneath guys are taken away, maybe you take deep guys away, and then maybe you got to buy some time if you're a quarterback. Aiden O'Connell struggles with that sometimes, right? Although he has looked better this year, right? That's something that I'm gonna want to watch. We're gonna see a different approach to Aiden O'Connell this week, right? We're gonna see the Chiefs who blitzed us. The Buccaneers might not, right? The Buccaneers might say we want to see if Aiden O'Connell can make plays if we don't give him those passes, right? But an interesting thing is the Buccaneers head coach Todd Bowles does blitz a lot, so I could actually see Aiden O'Connell putting up pretty big numbers against the Buccaneers as well. Although the Buccaneers do have a really good front seven, right? They got koonce, who I think is a top 10 guy. Vita Vea is obviously very hard to block. Vita Vea against Jackson Powers-Johnson is going to be an interesting matchup. We'll see how that kind of works out. And then even their offensive line, right? They have a really, really good offensive line. They got Luka Decky at the right tackle position. He was a second-round pick. Pretty solid guy. I think he came out of... I forget where he came out of, but I think he was a guard in college. Don't call me. He might have been the opposite tackle of one of these guys. But you got him playing right tackle for the Buccaneers. He's pretty solid. He's been coming on lately. You got Graham Barton at center, who's been very, very solid. And then, of course, you got one of the top 2 or 3 tackles in the NFL, and Tristan Wirfs over there at left tackle. So the Raiders' defensive line is going to have their work cut out. And then don't sleep on Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving might be the best running back in the NFL. Maybe not the best, but he's one of the best running backs in the NFL. And the Raiders are going to be going up against Bucky Irving as well, right? And the Buccaneers are a physical football team. They're going to want to run over the top of the Raiders. So we're going to have our work cut out this week. And I want to see if the Raiders can have success against that offensive line, and specifically if we can defend the run a little bit. I feel like the Raiders have been gashed this season when it comes to run defense. Can the Raiders' defensive linemen get it done? Adam Butler looked pretty good this past week. Can he do it again this week? Maxx Crosby, some people are saying he's not having the impacts that they expected to have, although I don't actually agree with that. But can Maxx Crosby come in here and get a couple sacks? Right? Can the Raiders make it tough on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Can we keep it close or potentially win this game? Right? It's going to be an interesting game. Also, keep an eye on a rookie safety that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers took in the 3rd round. His name is Tyree Smith, if you guys don't know. A pretty solid football player. I think he was with Georgia this past season. He's a rookie this year. He's pretty solid as well. I also want to see the Raiders' run game get going a little bit. I know it's going to be tough because of the fact that they have a good front seven. But I want to see this run game be able to have success as well, right? We got to be able to get it done when it comes to the run game, and we got to see if Sincere McCormick's the guy, right? So I want to see the offensive line be able to have some success running the football, and then I want to see if Jakobi Meyers can separate, right? I want to see if this guy, one of the things that happened last week was early on in the game, Jakobi Meyers was not double teamed at all, right? They let this guy just kind of do his thing. He had like 85 yards in the first quarter, and then they double teamed him and basically took him out of the rest of the game. I want to see if they're going to double team him or play bracket coverage on him, if he can learn to beat that, right? Because Jakobi Meyers hasn't been bracketed a lot in his career. Obviously, he's had Devontae as he's been here with the Raiders. But if we go into next year and Jakobi Meyers can't beat that bracket, well, then we got to figure out who that true number one is going to be for the Raiders that can beat that bracket coverage. Just because there's a bracket coverage doesn't mean a guy's, essentially taken out, right? You can still get open. And, I want to see if Jakobi Meyers can kind of do his thing there. Now, obviously, we have Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers will probably be double-teamed a lot as well. It's going to be an interesting game for sure. I think the thing I'm most excited about coming into this week is to see if the Raiders can actually have success through the air the same way we did against the Chiefs. Because some people are saying Aiden O'Connell's not a good quarterback and he just kind of got lucky. Although I don't agree with that. Some people do think that, right? He's not a good quarterback. Best case scenario, Aiden O'Connell throws another 300-plus yards, 3 touchdowns, and the Raiders win this game, right? It's the best case scenario, and then we win a couple more games. And then going into next season, if Aiden O'Connell is a good quarterback, he'll be able to prove that, right? And then he might even be your quarterback going into next season. We'll see what ends up happening, right? It might not happen, but it could happen. We'll see what ends up happening. Let me know what you guys think, man. It's going to be an interesting game as we come up here. The season's basically coming to an end, right? We're at the first week of December. We have like a month left of football, right? So it's crazy how quickly the season just flies by, right? I feel like it's been, just like last week we had training camp kind of start. And we're already in the final month of the season, especially for the Raiders. Right, we're not making the playoffs, but we'll see what ends up happening, man. Let me know what you guys think. Thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time with another video.